Fala galera, today I'm going to make the deck profile from the deck that I've been using on the B lately. I created this deck some weeks ago. I call it CETE, which is CETE, which means Cyberse, Eldlich, Token, and Enforcer. um, I really like this deck. I feel like it started at something that I was trying to have fun with. Not gonna lie, but it had all the components that I wanted to have in a deck right now. And as soon as I started playing with this, I realized, maybe there's something in here. And now, after probably 2 weeks playing with this, and you guys can check it out, all my matches in the stream VODs on my channel or here in YouTube too, because I have most of my games here. You guys will see that this has a lot of potential, and I feel like I'm not done yet with this. I feel like there's still room for improvement. The first version that I did is really not that different, but it's different than what we have right now. Uh, so yeah, like the when I created this deck, usually when I create decks, I had something in mind. Like for example, in this case, I will go like step by step the creation process of this. Okay, of course, I didn't create the Cyberse combo. I was aware this was a thing that already happened, but like this combination of things that you see here, yeah, that was something that I created. Um, it started as okay, I wanted to play this. Um, those cards, the the token cards, and I feel like they're absolutely insane. Uh, One of the best engines that's not like something that you play in the deck in the history of the game, in my opinion. One of the best. Really, really good. Really good in first, really good in seconds. A special summon engine that makes monsters on the board really versatile. It uh, it helps break boards really, really well. So yeah, extremely insane engine. So that's the first thing. So I wanted something to play this. The second thing that I wanted to play was this Enforcer. I feel like Enforcer makes the ability to go Anaconda, like take whatever and bring into and make Anaconda and do Enforcer extremely useful. And I feel like there is synergy between those cards and those cards, because not always you need to go for Griffin. You can many times go for Anaconda through this. You can just uh, write into Faithful, into get, and you have the token. Then you get Faithful into water, special summon water, and then make Link Spider, and then you make Anaconda. You can do that. You can use this as a special summon Anaconda, which is pretty good. Okay, so I wanted to play, and that's optional. You don't need to do that. You do that if you want to. If you don't want to, you can do the negation. Of course, if you have another play available, you can do the negation play, and then you do your Anaconda play with something else, usually the Cyberses or Magician Souls plus something else, and so on. So that's the first thing. So I wanted to play those and those, and then I said, okay, where I can do this. And then I thought, okay, I need a play, right? Like my deck, I need to have an engine, because for now I only have those cards. Of course, they are kind of the engine, but I feel like that's not enough number, consistency of engine. So after some, and it had to be a normal summon engine, most likely, that doesn't trigger on summon necessarily, right? Like I couldn't play Invoke It here, for example. So we know the engines that we can play, right? Like we can play Trinkets, we can play the what's the name? Phantom Knights. Those are the historically most used decks that do play this engine. Besides the like a lot of engine type of deck, like base that Nets did. So I want to play something like that, and then after some searching, I found that engine. And then I said, oh, that's good, because this is one card do something really good. What's something really good? Any of those Cyberses can do Enforcer with CETE. And also you do a draw one, put one back in the bottom because of Link Disciple. And that's pretty good. All those effects are interesting. And what made me looking forward this was the fact that this was a one card combo. I was already at the point that I was thinking about this deck. I was already take a look on the other type of decks like this one, like the tiny one that plays some sword soul cards, or the base one that has a fiber and has enforce and have the engine. So it was something that I look into too. I will take a little bit about the differences about those decks because they they are in the same realm of decks, but they are really different in the end. And there's some advantages and disadvantages between the two. And the thing is like, and the big one of the biggest differences is that most of those decks, the deep play is more than one card. So in this case, you have one card play. Like if you summon Dotscaper, you do Enforcer and Sight. And yes, the two card plays that the other decks do are stronger than Enforcer and Sight. But let's be honest, Enforcer Sight is pretty strong already. I don't think you need much more than that. For example, if I open this and this, that's absolutely insane because you have a negation to protect your Anaconda play, and then you have an Anaconda play with Sight, right? This is only two cards. You have all the other cards in your hand available still. And not only that, if you have the Griffin protecting you, you also protect for the things that people might use to prevent the Enforcer or the side pop. So yeah, like that helps a lot. And I like the fact that this is a one card play. Okay, so that's why I leaned toward this situation here instead of like playing Prankeds or playing as my one card play, because Prankeds is the other one that is one card play. I feel like it's the only other good one. It's Prankeds, and the other one's like Phantom Knights most of the time. But it's not one card plays, it's two. So that's what made me kind of weird, but it's much stronger. Don't get me wrong. I'm trading like always. I'm trading power for, let's call it, consistency. But like I feel like this is good enough and more ability to do different things. So that's what happened here. So at first that's what I had, and I want to play a lot of hand traps. And the hand trap that I wanted to play were kind of similar to what I have here. Like here I have like some different choices. But I really want to play Name, I really want to play Ash. I have 3 ogres at first. Those were in the side deck. I have like Bells and Veils and Perms instead. But I want to play hand traps. And then I build that deck without the Eldlich. And then the plays are the same, right? And Souls didn't exist because when I built the deck it was before the release of the Illusion, so there was no Souls. So when I did that, it felt okay, but the problem was it's even funny to call this longevity, but it didn't have longevity, it didn't have a grind. And I know the current metagame there is not a lot of grind, don't get me wrong, I'm aware, but you had to have some. And I had 0. So like, for example, if I do my board and it dies, I don't have a follow-up play. I use half of my extra deck to do the play, and then if something weird happened to my board, or my opponent like let the game go for a grind game, or something happened to my play and then I can't play, and it's weird. If my force if somehow dies, I feel like it lacked continuity, like something to do more often, right? And then I thought, oh, who I can call in those situations, right? Like the Eldlich cards. And there are synergies with the Eldlich cards. With those cards have synergy because of Faithful, and you have that you can discard. And Enforcer has a lot of synergy with the Eldlich cards too, because you can pair them right if necessary. For example, you have 2 conks. I mean, you have 2 conks. One goes to grave. No, not 2 conks, but like a conk and a sanguine, but you need to discard one of them, and then in the end phase you can pop the one of them, and then you have the right pair like sanguine and conk. You can do that too. You can do that with Eldlich too. So there are some synergies here that are useful. So I feel like as soon as I put the Eldlich, which by the way are the worst cards in the deck, but I feel like they're kind of necessary, I'm trying to play those at the minimum. I feel like land is really good. It's not the bad part are the traps, and I'm trying to work on that. I will try to play like this too. I feel like less than this is impossible. I think. I had two Wakeros at first, I already cut one. I had two Lords at first, I already cut one. So I'm using less and less to see. But it's really good to open one. Like, if you open one Eldlich card, it's really good because, I mean, if you open this, is really good anyway. But like one of them, even one of them is fine because you do a lot. Imagine you do like Enforcer, hand traps, and you have a Sanguine. This Sanguine gives you the ability to, okay, this is really hard to lose because it's really unlikely that your opponents can break your board and kill you. So they need to break your board and control. But in order to break a board and control, and then Enforcer is coming back, I'm drawing two, and then I have an Eldlich, it's really difficult for them to control after that. Because then in those situations, the games go to a kind of a grind, depending on the matchup, of course, and that is weird. Okay, so I feel like so far I have the opinion that in this type of deck, the Eldlich is necessary. So I had the problem. What's the problem? It's impossible to do that in party. So I'm going through the entire creation of the deck, right? So it was impossible to do in party because I needed to play Eldlich, I needed to play the Cyberse. I tried, like, and then you have like and I didn't even have the soul, so I need to cut some of this, some of this, some of this, some hand trap, and then I had like 46, and my percentage of hand trap was low because I have like 9 hand traps in 46. I was like, okay, this is absolutely impossible to do. And then I started doing some math, and I came to the conclusion that if I played more cards, it would be better because the percentage of the hand trap would be better in the end. For example, in this deck, I have 18 hand traps. 18 hand traps is kind of the equivalent of 12 to 13 hand traps in 40. So 18 in 60 is kind of equivalent to 13 hand traps in 40, which is a decent number. What makes this number not bad in this specific situation is that the hand traps that I play, and I feel like this is the one of the biggest advantages this deck has in comparison to other decks, which is, and I will go ahead of myself and say this right now, which is I can play the blowout hand traps. We are in a format where it's almost impossible to hand trap your opponents and they stop completely. Something will happen. Maybe a Enforcer, maybe a Fogblade, maybe a Butler, maybe something will happen. Like, hand traps are there to prevent the bullshit. Okay? So the hand traps that I play have the potential to prevent more than, let's say, Valor and Pearl. Shit like that, right? So that's why I forced to play. I'm not forced, but I really try to play cards like those. And also, the cards that I mentioned before, like Imperial Valor and so on, they are kind of weak to this, and those are the cards that dictate the format, in my opinion. Like, this is the most important thing right now. So even when you go first and when you go second, having cards that are weak to this, like a Valor, for example, it's really weird. It's not bad, but it's weird. For example, this card can high-ho into this. For example, they have the water and have draw. So you high-ho your draw into this. And that's the best case scenario. Like, but that might prevent more things too. You can't look at a card with the hand trap with the expectation that this is going to completely stop opponent. This doesn't happen. This just don't happen. Like, it's not a thing. So that's why I wanted to play a deck with the water engine, the token engine, and a good one card engine, and a lot of special, because not only you need something good, like strong, to prevent as much as you can going second, but also you need push to play into whatever's left, because something will be left. So that's why I wanted to play something like this. And then I feel like the biggest change in the deck recently was the addition of the souls. That changed everything, in my opinion. This card made a lot of difference. One, it is a special summon, so it helps in the purge department that I just mentioned. The other thing, it makes the Eldlich card better. I don't like to open the traps, the Eldlich trap. I'm fine with open land or a Lord going second. But the traps are kind of weird. But if I open the trap with lands, or Lord, or illusion, any of the souls, it's fine because souls is going to trade that card for a new card. So that's fine. Also, souls has the synergy with this. You can draw 2 cards because of Faithful and Dracoback. So that's really good too. And it's a special summon, and it's a dark special summon, which is really useful for dark. I use dark a lot. Dark Surge souls, and both souls and dark and the other chamber too are both spellcaster, which is good for Celine. So that is a lot of synergy going on here. Souls is extremely important in this deck. It makes better into play into Nib, into Imperm, you decide. It makes your worst card better. You see more hand traps because you eventually draw with the soul draw. It's one of the best cards in this deck and make everything together, and you now have more pushes going second, because like I said before, since this is a Anaconda deck where any 2 monsters can do something that is useful, the fact that Souls is just a monster is useful. And not only that, you also have the Dark, which is pretty good right now. So Souls is one of the best cards in the deck. I will explain a little bit why it's 2 Souls, 2 Illusions, 2 Preparations. I feel like the main thing is that I wanted to play more Souls. That's the first thing. You can play a maximum of 9 Souls. You can go for free. But I feel like this is like a curve. I'm trying to reach the peak. My guess in this deck is that the optimum number is between 6 and 7. It's definitely between 5 and 7. I feel like 8 and 9 is too much, and more than that is too little, because you really want to open this card, but it's not that good to open 2. It's not that it's not that good. It's bad to open 2. So the way around this is to play preps, because they are in and the same thing. All of them are the same card, but the difference is that if you open Soul Souls or Soul Illusion, it's bad because you can't do anything. You can only use one of them. But if you open Soul Prep or Illusion Prep, the Illusion will eventually get the Souls, and the Souls can trade the Prep for a new card. So that's the theory. You can, if it happens that you open a combinations of 2 Souls cards, if one of them is a Prep, it's fine. I don't think you can play like 3 Preps and 1 Illusion and 2 Souls or like that. What you can definitely do, if you want to add another Prep, you just add a 3rd Prep here. Let's say if I want to play 7 Souls, the next one here would be the 3rd Prep. That's what I mean. Okay. So that's the interesting thing. And the other thing about the Illusion is that you can put some bricks back, so that's useful too. So yeah. What else? Those are the combo, right? Like you have you can do Dag the Devotee, and they're making a Conda. They're pretty much similar cards. The gadget is a little bit better because it has the effect that you can almost summon and you target a level 2 or lower monster in your grave special summon, so it's more summons. You can do that with Veiler, with Draw, or with Dotscaper. Am I missing something? No, those 3. And Souls too. But you can do that if you had the intention to use those cards. But sometimes you do use a draw and you have that and you never drew it, any of this. So you use the effect, so you get an extra body, which is useful. Another thing about the Cyberse packs in comparison to the other packs, I feel like this package is better going second, because this package can go for Anaconda, it can go for Phoenix Colinkit, you draw a card, you make a lot of monsters with one summon, and you do a lot of link plays, and you can go for both chambers because this is light and this is light, and then this is dark if you want to go for dark roll, because this is dark and this is light, right? So you can use the tokens and whatever is left to do which one you prefer. Okay, so that is really really important too. I really love the chambers. I wanted to play more chambers. I feel like they're absolutely insane cards. And I'm really happy to play those cards here. I wanted to play more. I don't think there is a lot of space because I feel like this package is also really important to kill. And this happens a lot. You have a lot of spellcasters. This is spellcaster, this is spellcaster. And the Veiler, which is a known one-off. If you happen to have a Thunder, you can make Fiber and go into Veiler, into Sling, and so on. That's also really important. And yeah, I feel like this engine is also the best known normal summon effect engine that I can play into things. Also, another thing that I forgot is Linger Ribble. Going second in some matchups, for example, there are some matchups that have traps, right? So you can make like normal summon, no effect, and make Linger Ribble right away. And all of them trigger because Linger Ribble is a Cyberse. So this triggers, and this always triggers, but like all of them trigger. So you can make Linger Ribble, and sometimes you have more extenders, and you can make your play while Linger Ribble's on the board. So if they use something, you have the Linger Ribble. So that's a really important part too. So about the hand traps, I'm going really in depth here because I really like this deck. I wish I had something to play. I usually don't play Rainbow Duo, so the YCS is not a no for me, but I wish I had something else to play. So since I don't, I want to showcase this deck because I feel like this is extremely good, and I really want to know, you guys know where this came from. Okay, I'm proud. Okay, I'm proud papa of this deck, and I want the world to know. So about the hand traps, like I said before, I played the different hand traps at first. I had the more impactful ones in the side deck, and then I have like regular hand traps in the main deck, and then I really quickly realized that I need the bullshit, like Lance, Draw, and even Token Collector. I feel like if you're playing, okay, this is a deck that is considering the high-end metagame, okay, the D decks, right? If you're considering those type of decks, I feel like this lineup is really playable. I feel like draw is all around decent right now. I feel like the big, these weird situations are the Lances and the Token Collectors, I would say. So Lance has synergy with this deck because of Dagda, so yeah, sure, is an artifact. So sometimes quite often to be honest, you bring Lance. I feel like Lance is at least a one-off in this deck, okay? Because sometimes you're playing a matchup that you know the matchup. So in that case, some matchups you don't want to bring side to bring Lance, like Thunder Leads, for example. There's other decks, but this is the first one that came to mind. You do this instead, you don't do side. So I feel like it's at least one off. It was at first for me too. So gives Dagda more triggers, and also Dagda can trigger opponents' turn too. So sometimes you can set something in their turn. So really useful situation. I feel like the card that I'm pushing the most here is Token Collector. This is the last one that I added, of course, and so far it's been really good. The main decks, again, I'm focusing like high decks, okay? The decks that if you go like round 8 further in the YCS, I feel like it's really likely that you play into decks that play the tokens. And I'm aware that some decks that play the tokens only play the tokens as the token engine, right? As the vital token maker thing, okay? So there is not a lot of not a lot of opportunities for you to use token collector, but I feel like against the main ones, there is. For example, against Phantom Knight, sure. Phantom Knight there is only this, right? As token thing. But Phantom Knight, they either draw it and then token collector is good, or they search it. Because every time they don't have it, they will try to get it. Usually with Cherubini, let's say they have 2 Phantom Knights, they summon the Phantom Knights, they usually don't do the effect of the Phantom Knight on the board, and they go for Cherubini, and the Cherubini sends water, and then banish water, go this, and then you can token collect, so that's useful. The other deck, Prank Pits, again, only this, but they also have the pranks. The pranks make the token, depending on the way they combo, this can really hurt, because if they do old combo. Let's call it old combo, okay? Old combo when at some point of the combo they have the pranks that they just get from the grave, and then they have one monster in defense. They go pranks, discard to make a token, then make bow wow or do whatever. But like they need to discard and make the token, and then make a link to. If you token collected there, assuming they didn't draw any of those, okay, it's really annoying for them because you summon token collected, and it's really likely that they can't continue, and maybe that prevent the blood clear. Against the fiber decks that getting more popular right now, the base deck that Nat created, or even the tiny one-off Sword Soul deck that also play a lot of cards, that play the Red Rose Dragon, I think is the name. That deck, okay, that's kind of popular in the UCG. People call it Brave Tanny. I feel like that is also something that this is really good against because they have Aurodon and they have all that too. So it's good against both. It's good. I know that it's not that popular. This deck is not that popular. It's getting some traction, not gonna lie, but it's not as popular. But it's good in the mirror. Like we do a lot of tokens here, right? You have this, and you have this, and you have the Link devotee. So there's a lot of tokens here too. So it's not bad. But one really good thing about and Sword Soul is really good against regular Sword Soul, which is still a deck, right? Regular Sword Soul is still a deck. So I feel like those decks, like I would say, like if you slice the competitive scene, you say, okay, there's these like 50 guys that is more likely to win the YCS. I feel like the decks that I mentioned, like 80% of those players. So with that in mind, I feel like it's a good choice if you aim really high. One of the things that I really enjoy about Token Collect is the fact that it stays on the board. So it's almost like an extender because, like I said before, this deck takes a lot of advantage of things staying on the board because you can do Phoenix, you can do the Charmers, you can do Anaconda. Just being something, or Dagda, just being on the board, Fiber, it's really interesting. So that's something that I really like because starting your turn with Token Collector on the board is really good. Sometimes you have Token Collector in Nibiru and you start the turn with 2 monsters and you stop opponents. Like, it's really, really interesting. Really interesting. And I'm testing this Token Collector a lot to see if it's useful. And sometimes, yes, of course, you draw this Token Collecting matchups where it's bad. Yes. And you get away with this. Like, it happens, like this is a meta call decision, and if you play in a meta game where there's a lot of the old decks like Invoke It, Tribegate, I don't know, then you maybe don't main this card, make something more generic instead. But it's more or less the intention. Oh, there's another thing. This is also discardable, right? You can send with Faithful, and you can send with Foolish, and there's another one I forgot. There was another one. A Phoenix, of course. Hey, and of course, if he goes to Grave, you can bring back again if your opponents try to play again. The other day I played against a Sword Soul where my hand was bad and I made Token Collector and I killed the token, but he had one of the best answers, which was teleport into Warrior, into Yazi, and kill the Token Collector and play with Taya and do a lot of things, and did a lot of things like two synchros, 2 back row. And then I killed the board, and then they couldn't play again because the Token Collector was in Grave, and then they come back. Like, it's annoying. So, yeah. Nibiru is also good because of kind of the same reason. Like, it's something that stays. Again, I know none of those cards had the intention to completely stop opponents, so, but that's not the thing. Like, I need to kind of stop the opponent and push them away for it. That's why I wanted to have, if possible, hand traps that stay on the board. So yeah, that's the main deck. Side deck, I have the Gammas. I feel like the Gammas is one of the most generic. I tried main Gamma, but it's kind of weird. I feel like your card needs to be live when you go first, especially playing Eldlich has some conflict there. So I put the Gammas on the side, but I pretty much side Gamma almost every single time I go second. I have the back row remover here. I have 5. Bell is one of the, I feel like it's the next best hand trap. It trades with half of this engine because it can hit this always. But it covers some matchups where I have cards that I need to set out. Like sometimes I need to start to collect, sometimes I need to set out lanes or draw, because I have some specific cards here. So this is generic enough that I can side in, just like Emma. I do this a lot. Pancatrop is also a card that is here because of this. Storm is a card that is almost never dead when you go second. So there are some matchups where you need to trade tech for tech, and then having something somewhat generic is good. But this has merit. It's good into trinkets, of course. It's good into virtual world, which is something that, for example, token collect needs to live, right? Because it's only when it's only this, I usually try to take it out of token collect. That's usually what I think. So Bell covers that. Bell is something that I can side into Eldlich too, which is a matchup that is, as you can see, it's awful main deck wise. Awful if you go second, right? Like, yeah, you have this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Like, almost all my tags are bad, sure. But you barely play against Eldlich. I don't make the deck thinking of that. But then post side, I have like 12 cards to side in, so I can take all those 12. This is not a coincidence, by the way. You can take all the 12 cards to put those 12 cards here. And yeah. And then I chose one defense card, and I have some options. You can play Solemn, Solemn Judgment, you can play Anti-Spell, you can play... There's another one. Sanctum. You can play the Sanctum. There's more, but I decided to play the Sanctum in the end. Sanctum is really interesting because I already have the target, so I don't need to side the target. So I already have the target. And it's good when you try to play and you can't. I feel like the likelihood of you trying to play and can't, it's higher than usual when you game one. And there's some debate, usually on my streams, why I play Sanctum, because if my play goes through, the Sanctum is kind of dead, because if I do the entire play, I have the CETE available, and then Sanctum can only bring the Lancia. But let's be honest, my entire play went through, I kind of won anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's Sanctum. I don't remember, and I feel like that's holds true, that I lost a game that I went through combat and had a dead Sanctum, and I didn't win because I already went into everything. So what usually happens for Sanctum to be good is when you try to play and you can't, and you sack Sanctum, and then you go CETE, and then it's really bad for your opponent. But there's some debate. This is not a 100% thing yet. I feel like Solid Judgment is too expensive. You need to really often to use Solid Judgment really early in the first cards. For example, you need to use Solid Judgment on this card every time they use it. You have no choice, because otherwise they bounce the fucking Judgment. It's worse. So you need to use it, and then you have 4K now. I don't know. It's kind of awkward. I feel like it's a spell is the one that is fighting here. Maybe Anti-Spell, Call of the Grave, Talons, maybe. So there's some debate here. For now, I'm keeping the Sanctum, okay? I feel like it's one of the best one, if not the best one. I feel like everything here is mandatory in the extra deck until here. I mean, Dark is 2. I mean, for me, many things are already mandatory. I feel like you need these combo pieces pretty much. I feel like this package is really important. You need the power, and you do this a lot. Like Celine is really easy to make. This deck is funny. You have some random spell cards, like this is Spellcaster, this is Spellcaster, this is Spellcaster, like all the charms. It's just weird, okay? There's a lot of Spellcasters here. The second Anaconda, it's something that is really, really useful. I realized really early that this was something, especially because what happens, you try to play, and then you get nib, and then if you have any extender, you can extend, make a link spider with the token, then you make a second Anaconda. This happens more often than it seems. And also, there's all the possibility for you to try to play, and then your Anaconda gets negated randomly by, like, I don't know, Gamma, Valor, Perm, something, right? And then you have a second Anaconda for the remaining of the game. Also makes you more willing to go, when you go second, you can force things with Anaconda. Like at some point when you go second, you're doing your Cyberse plays usually, and then you make Anaconda. And then your opponent kind of needs to respond. And sometimes the response is not a negation. It's like a pop or something like that. And then in that case, you just summon Anaconda and obviously wait for a response, because they kind of have to. Otherwise, you're going to negate and summon the Enforcer. And then you make a second Anaconda. You get a lot of cards. Like one summon of this, if the Disciple resolves, is 4 summons, because it's the Disciple itself. No, it's 3 summons. It's the Disciple itself and the 2 tokens, and that helps a lot, right? So yeah, and then you have those 2, and Dark is like absolutely absurd in this deck. there's so many dark modes to get. One of them is Enforcer, but sometimes I reborn icons from opponents. Sometimes I reborn Cherubinis. Like, there was this one day that I used Dark and got Cherubini. Cherubini sent this, and then it's absurd. So this is really good in this deck. Oh, you a spellcaster too. I forgot. Yeah, this is also a spare card. I won a game like that. I went Dark into Cherubini into this, and then I didn't use the effect yet, and then I went for Celine into Reborn this, and then I banished the water and got the thing, and then I won. So that's another thing. And then the second Anaconda, and the last card is Phoenix. This can be something else. I do use the Phoenix. I feel like this is the flag spot. I feel like you need everything else. I even considered this at some point in the past, but now I feel like you also need this one. So this is the flag spot. Now I'm playing Phoenix. I already thought about Anima. This guy, he can randomly force an interaction because you have some level 1s going second, like this and this, and the tokens. The tokens are difficult to do, but usually those 9 cards here, I mean, you can randomly summon George, but like, so, and you can use the token, by the way. So you have those. So you have Anima, and the other one is the Link one that Invoked used. Fuck. Magistus? Something? You. Because with this, you can normal summon this, and then make Magician, and then you can banish, and then you have 2 summons because of the engine, and then you can do Daga Enforcer with that. It's some of those cards, okay? This could be a Cyberse too, a security, what's the name? Security something? Security Dragon. Is also something that can happen because it's really easy to co-link. The problem with this card is that it doesn't trigger on summon. You summon and then you need to activate the effect. If it triggers on, if this card triggered on summon, like you summon and then it just like triggered, it would be much better. So yeah. So those are the options for the last spot. I still don't know yet. There's another card that I considered was Alsa. Also is interesting because this is Earth and this is Earth. There's something else that is Earth. No. The token's Earth? No, the token's Light. So yeah, there's some Earth, and this can randomly search pocket drops, by the way. So yeah. So that's the deck. I feel like I covered most of the things I really like, to be honest. I feel like this is one of the best decks in the metagame. I forgot one last thing. In my opinion, okay, so if you guys want my opinion, my honest opinion, the best decks in the metagame right now is this. Sorry. And the base deck. Okay? Those 2 decks. I feel like there are some advantages in this. That's why I like to draw the comparison, okay? The advantage that base has over this, I feel like the push is going second a little bit better. You play Vishuddha, you play Teleport, you have more lines of play. For example, you try Fiber and then you can't, and then you're Anaconda. I don't kind of have that. I do, but like it's not the same. I feel like that are better. That deck is a little bit better going second, but I feel like it's only a little bit better going second. It's not like overwhelmingly better because I do have some advantage because this is better going second than their engine. Their extenders are better. They have more of those, but I feel like my normal summons are much better. So that's one, but I still believe that's a little bit better. I think that deck plays more bricks than this one. Okay, you can call all Eldlich is a brick. I disagree. It's not the same, okay? There are more bricks in that deck than in this one. But I think Eldlich is manageable when sec, okay? But I feel like the main thing, but by far, the things that... So I feel like this is an advantage for this one. If you don't call Eldlich bricks, okay? Let's not do that, okay? If you don't do that, then I feel like this has less bricks. Because it's much better to draw a Vaquero than, I don't know, man, the synchro something that is special summons when something happens. Like, it's different. It's definitely different, okay? I don't know the name. There is one card that is searched by Cupid. I know what the cards do. I don't know the names. The card that Cupid do, like the card shit. So just one example. I feel like the bricks here are a little bit better too because of this. And more manageable because there you have two card combos and here you have one, so the weight of the combo is big. The bricks are bigger in my opinion. So yeah, that's one. And I feel like the main thing is that they play the similar amount of hand traps no engine here. Like I play 18, I feel like the deck play around the same number. But the big difference is that base is forced to play the Thunders. They need to play the Veilers, they need to play the Ogres, and probably the Bells too. And because of that, they don't have the space to play a lot of those cards. And I feel like that's a big difference. Big difference. Because those cards are way more likely to do something really important for you. So that's one of the things that draws me to this deck a lot. The grind of this deck is much better too because of the Eldlich, but then that's not the biggest thing. I feel like the biggest thing is this. So yeah, I needed to say that because I feel like those are the main decks. I mean, they're not the main decks in the game yet, but I feel like if people notice, they will. They should. Maybe they don't, but they should. So yeah, that's a deck. I'm really proud of this deck. Like I said, I really wanted to play something original, which is cool. Of course, I didn't invent it in Eldlich, Cyberse, but like this configuration of deck, yeah, sure, it was. So yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys like it, and see you guys later. And hope on my streams. Cool. So yeah, bye bye.